The Fed is in this, they're controlling this economic system that affects your entire financial life. They're controlling this whole thing. And so this is money games. This is money and credit games. It's happening right now. It's like it's prime time in your life right now.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for July 24th through July 31st, 2023, while supplies last. And on this one, supplies may not last long, because this week we feature 2023 American Silver Eagles at just $8.99 over spot, our lowest price on Silver Eagles in more than a year. Since its first release almost 40 years ago, the Silver Eagle has been, without exception, the world's most popular bullion coin, which provides unparalleled recognizability and liquidity. It's 3/9 fine, comes 22 a tube, 500 to a box, and is available at just $8.99 over spot while supplies last. Finally, the Silver Eagle is IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend E.B. Tucker, the founder of The Tucker Letter. E.B., thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. I would like to discuss what the Fed is going to be doing and also precious metal markets right now. If we can start with what the Fed is doing, announcing probably today, by the time this is posted, we'll see the official news, but it looks like they're going to be raising interest rates another quarter point, which would put interest rates at a 22-year high. Your perspective on this and kind of how fast and really quickly the Fed has been raising interest rates.
Well, at this moment, they're probably having lunch, and it's probably delicious. I went to lunch once at the UN, and just so you know, there's a dining hall looking over the East River, and they're eating like lamb chops, and I mean, it's just absolutely like fantastic. It makes a strong case for telling your kids to become bureaucrats because life is pretty good in these institutions. So I bet Jerome is having they're having nice lunch. But basically today they'll announce maybe they'll go up 25 basis points. I don't think that's really the point. The thing that I'd like people to take away, and I write about this in my newsletter, the Tucker Letter, ebtucker.com, is that this is not capitalism, okay? It's very important that people understand that, okay? It's not capitalism. What this is a system controlled by committee. And people need to understand that what's happening here is that for like you just said, 22 years, this is the highest rates. That's correct. For the last 22 years, we entered this new era where they're trying to control the system using credit. That's what they're trying to do. And honestly, so far, so good. You had a little blow up in 2008, but then you went into this period of 12 or 13 years of controlled growth. Now, what you have is this controlled growth with the occasional panic. Do you notice this? This is not tradable. You can't trade this. Like if you tried to short the market during COVID, there's no way that you successfully did that. It was luck if you did, because it lost a third of its value, $12 trillion in 3 weeks. And then the Fed came out and said they were going to buy junk bonds, and it shot the market back higher, and you're back into a bull market. So if you tried to use 20th century economics textbook type of trading strategies, you lost, and you kept losing. And one of the things that bothers me about the gold community is people always talking about this honest money and all this stuff. That's a nice idea, and it's a good thing to study, and it's an important thing to learn about. But you have to be realistic about the system that you're in, and it's not a capitalist system. So what is the Fed doing? Okay, I want people to see that. Just think about your life for a second. Your house, the value of your house. Okay, so housing is 20% of the economy. Medical services is 20%, which, by the way, the U.S. medical services are awful. If you have not been around the world and experienced other types of ways of procuring medical care, then you're stuck in a bubble. Just taking your kids as a doctor, you'll see an overweight pre-diabetic person instructing you that your kid needs 60 vaccines. It's crazy. Okay, 20% of the economy, 20% of the economy. So housing and medical is that's 40% right there. Government services. What do you think government services are? I would guess 25%, because you add federal, state, local, all these different things. So, I mean, now you start adding all these numbers up and you get down to the actual economy, like the hardware store guy selling you a shovel or something. That's about 10% of the system. And then if you talk to an American, they say, this is a capitalist system. It's a free market system. It's what makes America amazing, is a free market meritocracy. It's not true. It was true when we were kids, but it's not true now. Now, people say, okay, E.B. Tucker, you're just now making me depressed. All right. You've got to understand the landscape before you can make decisions. All right. That's part of what we're doing in my newsletters. We're not just complaining about this. We're just saying, look, just don't be bringing 20th century capitalist free market mentalities to your investing. You have to be realistic about the system that you're in. So what Jerome is doing is he's raising the rates to pull back liquidity out of the system as fast as possible. Now, why is he doing it as fast as possible? It's very simple. Because you have exploded the amount of debt. The amount of debt in the world has gone like totally crazy to $300 trillion, right? Over the last 22 years, like you're discussing. Why is that happening? Because the debt has created the perception of growth. So you haven't really had growth. What you've had is growth in the value of things. So you take like a sports team, for example, right? Now, sports teams now, it's one of the best things you can own. They used to be worth a couple $100 million. Now they're worth $4, $5, $6 billion. Okay, so they've slowly become more and more and more money. And who's buying the Washington football team now? Private equity guy. Okay, one of the founders, one of the Apollo guys, Josh Harris. Okay, see how private equity is a business where it's so simple. You take a little bit of a down payment, and then you borrow a bunch of money, and you buy a well-orchestrated business that a hardworking guy built, and then you just load it up with debt and you ruin it. That's private equity. Used to be a tiny portion of the market. Now it's everything is private. You can't even hire a plumber that's independent anymore, or a dry cleaner, or a yard service. Private equity has bought termite spraying companies, everything. Okay, and people need to see that private equity is a huge business because of access to debt. So the whole thing centers around this gigantic $300 trillion pile of debt. Now Jerome realizes that this pile of debt got a little too big too fast. So now you got to pull this back a little bit, but you got to do it fast, because if the debt slowly becomes more expensive, everything collapses, right? It's like a woman that's gotten tons of Botox, right? You got to keep getting Botox. If you stop getting that Botox, then you're going to really look like a raisin, okay? So you've got to keep getting that. Once you're on that path, you got to keep getting that. And that's what Jerome is doing. That's why he can't go up slowly, because you're noticing that people are turning over the keys to buildings they can't afford. They're defaulting on loans on businesses that they can't continue to roll over. Now, the dirty little secret is these people don't care about that business at all. Some guys that bought like a Hilton hotel on the side of the freeway using tons of credit, they don't care about that hotel. They're not in the hotel business. They basically took a bunch of borrowed money and bought anything they could find that they thought that they could flip later for a higher price to somebody that could borrow more money, okay? Jerome realizes that you got to go up really fast, because at some point you're going to have a short panic, and they're going to have to turn back on the free money. And I really want people to understand that it's important that you think about this and see the actual scenario. Don't pretend like you're in some kind of other type of game. This is the game. And once you understand the game, it becomes a lot easier to play it. I mean, if you show up with a baseball bat to a football game, you're confused. You don't know there's nothing for you to do. You got to dress out for football and show up for football. And that's what I'm in my newsletter at ebtucker.com. I'm trying to help people understand that once you see what's going on, it becomes a lot easier to do things with your money because you're no longer confused and you're not just constantly bewildered by what's happening in these markets.
So if I were to summarize, I guess one of the points that you made there is that the Fed is raising rates so fast because they have to cut very dramatically so that people can borrow more and continue to expand the system. Because if we look at just after COVID, rates being at zero, they couldn't cut anymore. So you're saying the Fed is going to be reversing dramatically?
It'll be a new program. So it won't be like something that you're used to. It's not, see, everybody fights the last war. So they're like, oh yeah, they're going to send us stimulus checks. It's like, no, that's done. Each time it's something a little bit new. If you notice, the stimulus check thing, right? That was like rates are already at zero. They've been at zero for a long time. Let's just mail people money. Okay, so what will the next, people always ask me this, what will the next thing be? Well, unfortunately, Jerome didn't invite me to his lunch having lamb chops at the Fed in Washington. I mean, if he did, I would go. So, I mean, if he's listening, I would accept that invitation. But I don't know what their plan will be. My suspicion is that it will be some combination of direct monetization and some sort of alternative lending program that doesn't benefit people like me and you. It benefits people that are going to borrow heavily and buy things or rescue things, okay, that are going to have a stimulative effect on the economy. And what that means is you saw the banks failing earlier this year, and then they stepped in with like extra liquidity for these banks while they're raising. If you remember, what they did is JP Morgan and all the bigger banks, gave deposits. So they recapitalized kind of the system to stabilize everything, right? So there's no way we benefited from any of that. And if you notice, nobody really lost any money. They kind of like were able to dampen the effect there and keep that calm. You see how that's like managing a drug addiction, right? So how long can you manage a drug addiction? Well, you can manage it for a while. I mean, if you have unlimited money and unlimited resources, you can be a junkie for a while. Okay. So it's really a bad bet to say, when will this fail? Okay. My suspicion is that this will go until there's a failure of something that touches people's lives. That's remember how when people started losing their homes, then it was a crisis, right? But if buildings in New York are getting turned back over to lenders right now, and nobody cares because it's like a $700 million building that's half vacant that nobody wants to be in. They turn it back to the lender. The lender says, okay, whatever, we lose 100 million or something. We'll auction this thing off. Somebody else will buy it. This is all very manageable. Once this gets really big, okay, then it becomes something that rattles people. And then Jerome has to stop and to kick into gear this new phase. And this new phase, people just need to say, I need to be able to survive the raising. So you don't need, if you're too exposed to credit during the raising, it becomes a huge problem. Like if you have a HELOC and all these different types of loans that you've taken, and then you took that money and then you did crazy things with that money, yeah, you're going to be in a painful situation. But if you can be patient, then I think you can ride that and turn and make moves to take that higher. But people need to realize during the time when the Fed is pulling this money out, it's a bad time to speculate, to gamble. That means this is not a time to throw money at crazy ideas. Let me give you an example. My friend talks about his plumber that was buying Bitcoin or something at 70,000 or whatever. So it's always good to ask people in your life, in the elevator with you or something, what are they up to? Because what you'll find is that when they had a stimulus check, they were looking to gamble. They were like, let me make a life-changing gamble to try to make something crazy happen. But when the money's coming out of the system, so everything, your plumber, for example, everything that he or she buys is getting more expensive. Okay, so like things that they're buying at the store. Now inflation is down, okay, but the things the plumber's buying is up, right? Because he's buying food, gasoline, insurance, labor. These things are up, right? But what's happening is the price of a new van is down. So like when you look at the inflation reading, it's down, but not on the stuff that he's buying. So he's got higher cost, all right, and declining revenue, and no stimulus check. Okay, so what that means is the $300 that he was going to throw at Sushi Coin, or my favorite, Pancake Coin, which is a real coin, by the way. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the money to gamble like that. He's going to use that to buy copper or something. So it's a bad time to speculate. And when people see it's a bad time to speculate, what you should do during that time is you should not be focused on these like 10-to-1 home run chances, because there's not enough money to come into that, to kick it off into gear. You should be focused on things that have fundamental value. And those are the things that tend to survive. Survival is very important. Like I play tennis, and I'm a decent tennis player. I'm actually like, okay. And part of what I do playing tennis is like, if I'm playing somebody really good, like I'm not really trying to like put the ball into the corners. I'm trying to like return the serve, and like get a rally going and play the odds. And so like, that's what you want to do in times when the Fed is pulling money. Like in the newsletter, we'll show the Fed balance sheet is coming down. But now it doesn't mean it's coming down to zero. It's coming down as far as they can get it before they got to kick it back up. So you got to play this game. That's the deal. You got to play this game. And once you start playing the game that's in front of you, it gets a little easier.
Now, obviously, you are the author of Why Gold, Why Now? So I did want to discuss precious metals and what we've been seeing in the last couple months. It seems like during the banking crisis, everyone was rushing into metals. They were, rising very dramatically. We've really seen things cool off in the price recently, and also in the last couple months. Obviously, it's been up and down. And also on the retail level, demand is way down from what it was back in March and April. Your perspective on the current state of the metals market, because it seems like that's a place, as you mentioned, for preservation, and nobody's going to it right now.
Yeah, I'm very close to that market, as you know, and I'm close to all parts of it. So in the newsletter soon, I'm going to write about why the gold price moves the way it does, because it's very controlled, and it's actually very easy to control. And I'll explain how that's the case. But I don't think people really understand gold, and especially the gold bug community. I'm always like really bothered by the fact that they don't really understand how this works. The gold price is unlikely to like rocket higher, to like some $10,000 overnight. It's almost impossible, because it's completely controlled by a mechanism that's very strong, and it's much stronger than supply demand. Supply demand does not really affect the gold price at all. I mean, I've been to all these distribution facilities, to smelting operations. I wrote about this in the newsletter this summer. People should see that I've got the fake bars that I saw at the smelter in Switzerland and all this stuff. So I mean, I'm really in this market. But at the same time, I'm actually very positive about gold. And what people that read my book know is that you actually don't need that much physical gold. Now, the problem is most people have zero. So, I mean, they're starting at zero, and then they think, oh, I better get some gold because it'll go to 10,000. It's probably not going to happen. And so the way you look at your gold investment is you look at your physical gold as like your baseline. It's like your foundation of your financial house. And you don't need, your foundation of your house might be 6 or 8 inches thick. You don't need it to be like 10 feet thick. It's crazy. It's a waste of concrete. It's not going to hold the house any better, than like a 1 foot foundation. And so you look at your physical gold that way. And most people, they have zero, and stop looking at it as a way to like make an overnight success of yourself. Just there's a percentage, and I give a little formula in the book to figure out your percentage. And it's probably lower than you think, but get that percentage of physical gold. Then you look at, how do I make money in this market? Well, if the gold price goes to $22.50, which I think by the end of the year is very likely, okay, that's actually kind of a big move. It's 10, 12%. What do you want to own? Well, I like royalty companies, and royalty companies, to your point, have been starved of investor capital. On this screen, I have all the royalty companies. Okay, I have it real time. Let's say nobody is buying the royalty companies. Metallo Royalty, where I was one of the guys that put that together, I have a huge position and I'm on the board, just announced a special dividend. You can still buy the stock and get the special dividend, and nobody's buying the stock. So it's like, things are slow when you say to people, hey, if you buy the stock, we'll give you free money. People say, I'm not interested in that. Okay, so what it tells you is the only people buying these royalties are people that are in close to the business, okay? Like people that really understand the business, people that are on the board, people that are very close to that community, which what that means is your plumber is not buying that, And I think someday he will be buying that because as you go through this process of the Fed pulling this money out, building like some building that's a garbage building that somebody paid way too much for is getting turned back over to the bank. You got to find the real price of this thing. It might have been 700 million when they bought it. They actually might be worth 300 million. That's a huge drop. Well, the gold price, it doesn't really drop that way. The gold price has a real buyer at some point, and the real buyer knows what that thing is worth. And so you're entering this period where you want to make sure your percentage of physical gold is right. Okay, it doesn't probably need to be as big as you think, but you want to make sure that it's right. And I give that formula in the book. And then you look at where's your upside. Well, a move to 2250 changes the value of the royalty of the gold royalty, which is like a 30-year no cost option on production from mines, just goes crazy when the gold price moves. And when you look at these stocks, it's like people say, well, the stocks are down. Yeah, pull them all up, like Franco-Nevada all the way down to the little guys. The chart all looks the same. Look at the volume. There's nobody buying these things. And so what you want to try to do in your financial life is to, when nobody's buying something, it means that nobody's paying attention, okay? Like when I bought rental property in 2009 and 10, nobody was buying rental property, like to the point where the realtors would not show the rental property to me. They're like, listen, it's a junk property. It has a box on the front. You can do the combination yourself and look at it and send me an offer and by fax. This is like, kind of how they did it back then. So my point is, you want to try to think opposite. You want to think, what is the market I can be in? Where, like my friend, I have a friend that is really rich that lives in a fairly small community, and I always say to him, why don't you live in New York or Miami? And he's like, well, I actually like being a big fish in a small pond because I feel like I can really be involved. Okay. And what that means is, like, in your investment community, like how many people are looking at NVIDIA? Like how many millions and millions and millions of people, right? I was in Japan having dinner in Kyoto. I met this art dealer from Hong Kong. He asked me about NVIDIA. Like worldwide you have, okay. So that's that's a competitive environment, right? How many people are looking at Metallo Royalty? About 6. Okay, so my point is, in your financial life, you want to kind of think about like how. Now, you don't want to just pick things that are unpopular, just to be different. That's not what I'm saying. But the Fed is in this; they're controlling this economic system that affects your entire financial life. They're controlling this whole thing, and so this is money games. This is money and credit games. It's happening right now. It's like it's prime time in your life right now. Nothing is going to affect your financial life more than what Jerome and his cabal is doing after they're done eating lamb chops for lunch. Okay, this is a big deal. And so you're in this position where you're like, I can buy 30 years of exposure to a gold mine for next to nothing. For less than the company paid to buy the royalty. That's crazy. Rick Rule always talks about when he bought stocks in 99, in the resource bottom, and you're buying a stock that was trading for less than the cash on its balance sheet, and everybody's like, wow, I would love to have that opportunity. Actually, no, you wouldn't, because you have that opportunity and you're scared, or you don't have any money. That's the problem. Like, I always tell people, when Bank of America went to $3 in the financial crisis, how many people bought that stock? Almost nobody, because nobody had any money. So you have to kind of like really say to yourself, I'm the captain of my financial battleship, and I'm trudging through the waters. and I got to be able to drive this thing for like another 30 years. And so I can't be thinking about like overnight success. I got to be thinking about, what do I want to own? What do I really want to own if I'm the owner of this thing? Like if all the music stops and they say, whatever's in your portfolio, you're the owner. Okay, you own this and there's no more trading. Are you going to be happy with what you own? And if the answer is no, then you got to really think about this. And now's the time to do it when everybody's on vacation, because you can make moves now to be ready for what's coming.
Fantastic. Well, EB Tucker, we really appreciate your time today. Link in the description to the Tucker letter. Can you briefly just tell us a bit about that before we let you go?
Yeah, so every other Thursday, you're going to get a note from me directly to your inbox. No marketing, no sales. It's just from me. Now, you can read that for free. You're going to get cut off about halfway down, but it's important for me that some people see, a bigger audience see that. Every other Thursday, 9 a.m., you'll never get hassled. You're going to have this note from me. You know I've been writing for a long time, and I love writing the Tucker letter at ebtucker.com because it's my direct channel to people reading. I love it, and I want people to sign up and read. And let's connect. Next Thursday is the next issue, and I can't wait to send it to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, EB, and you have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we can let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Kaiser, my brother Elijah, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.